Okay, welcome back to the 432nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 12th, 2022. And I believe we're ready to begin the second part of the show, where we usually have questions for Mr. Kesh. Is that how we'd like to proceed, Mr. Kesh?
As usual, we can't change the tradition, can we?
It's been pretty consistent for the last 431 Knowledge Seekers workshops, although you've switched it up a few times for us. Let me see here. As usual, I'll tell the attendees that they can raise their virtual hands and then we can acknowledge you and allow the microphone to open.
We have 7 transcribers in the background, yeah?
Well, we have just, you mean the translators?
Translators, yeah.
We have 2 that are active right now for the German and Portuguese languages. So yes. Those rooms, Zoom rooms, you could say, are open for that, for people to listen in on those languages while they are directly translating into those particular languages. We were trying with the Spanish, but that didn't work out this time around. So that person will have to get approved or somehow change their software or something in order to go through for the Spanish. Maybe it'll work next time around. And we have a couple of other languages too that are ready, pretty much ready to begin. The Italian as well.
Yeah. Can you bring the head of the Keshe Foundation up? She's using a different ID and she always stays in the crowd in the background. The 2 ladies, Ruti and Ella, they're in the background, both of them. They use different, what do you call it, ID numbers. I see them being somewhere.
Got that one. I'm not sure which one
Ella comes in different, what do you call it, different ID. But Ranglin is open there. Could you please bring it up there? The 2 ladies from the Keshe Foundation Worldwide.
Yep, Lynn is in now, and
I'm sure Ella will come up if she wants to be known which one, which is what name she enters.
Yeah, if she could put her hand up, then I could acknowledge her.
She has access to the board. She can come in anytime. But they want to stay, what do you call it, incognito, what do we call it?
Yes, right.
Okay, what is the question?
Perhaps her name is Louis. Louis Alberto. He or she has a hand up.
Okay.
And perhaps you can unmute and if you have a question, Louis.
Or was it a mistake?
Not sure.
Or do we need a translator?
Louis, are you there? Okay, not getting a response yet, so we have a question from Variohead in YouTube. When is it possible to go into an enhancement unit, and is it for free?
It's not for free, that's for sure. People have paid a huge amount of funds to purchase these units in their centers, and people have paid 10 million to buy the flight system. And people pay a lot for different units of the Keshe Foundation. and belongs to the Keshe Foundation in collaboration with knowledge seekers is setting up these systems. And now that we have gone into mass production, all the enhancement units which has been sold previously will be what we call forwarded to be delivered in the coming time. Now we have established a continuous production line. So it's just that we have what we call, unless we go for a massive expansion, there is a limit into how many units per week or per day we can produce. At the moment, we are trying to reach 1 a day and then increase it to about 30 a day to meet 1,000 units. This will not happen until the end of this year because it's a lot of work involved in the background in setting up these. The physical structure is not that hard. It's made in China. The control, the understanding, the loading, and then tuning it, and the rest of it takes time.
I see in the Keshe Foundation store, they offer the Flight Enhancement Experience. It says starting in September 2022, you will be able to enjoy the flight experience in the new Flight Enhancement spaceship units within and outside Earth's orbit using the new space plasma technology. Book your ticket now. And that is, well, 250,000 euros. So you have to be prepared to pay something quite dear in order to have that first experiences, yes.
Yeah, there is something which is, while you're at it, you've been to the shop. Last week we announced that workshops in the Keshe Foundation Exhibition Center for the production of the what we call Ganses, perfect Ganses, by people who actually work within the Keshe Foundation manufacturing side. These are not the teachers from outside. Herbert is part of the Keshe Foundation and has been responsible for Gans production for years in Keshe Foundation. So the class is done by Herbert on the 11th of June. These are deep embedded knowledge which you will learn and you can do it. We've seen some people have made a booking. Now we have entered the pottery this week. You can join the people who actually make, if you bought a cup of life or you bought the cup of sugar or the pressure, you have the master teaching you on the following week. I think that's on the 18th. It's already posted on the Keshe Foundation website. You can book. There's a very, very limited number of people for this workshop, maximum 10. And when you made your cups or your pots, you leave it and it'll be fired and done by the experts, and then it'll be posted to you. And you'll be taught how to do. The mixing of the gases is a procedure to it. It's not just mix and play. And then you will see there is one coming up for a sculpture, that to make sculptures which you can put as ornament in the house with different ganses and what the effects will have. This will be done one of the masters, one of the leaders I admire a lot in the Keshe Foundation. She's been solid backbone of our work in this. She's a sculptor. She will teach you how to make it, how to do it. A lot of work you see in the Keshe Foundation appears done, or you get things, is this lady behind it. I thank her for all the hard work. For years studying about the rock behind our work in Linz. Literally, she's the mother of the foundation in the Linz. She does everything to keep everybody happy. And that will be the following week after that. And then we'll have the painting. The painter who will use the ganses for that will be booked for the following week. But this week, we added the pottery. And I'm sure during the next week, you will see the sculpture and the painting. And then we have our own knowledge seekers. We introduced new, what we call dimension into what we call soft ornaments, right? That you can keep at home. You have a pain, you cuddle a teddy. The teddy is made by the Keshe Foundation. The knowledge seekers who have made especially mixtures by the Keshe Foundation to, in a way, to help. You feel sad, you cuddle a teddy, you cuddle a rabbit, and within it, we have hidden the new knowledge. We're trying to bring knowledge to be reachable and understood by as many as people as possible. And we have commissioned the first 100 of these, what I call soft ornaments. So you will see them in the next few weeks in the shop of the Keshe Foundation. And the master village will teach you how to do it. And we try to expand the knowledge. And for sure, in the next few months, we will do a weekend of the space travel teaching. It will be for a world-leading scientist. And we put a fee for that 2 days training. We're working on it in the background. When we reach to it, for the weekend, it will be around about $10,000 to $20,000 for the elite scientists around the world who want to join it. It's not fixed yet, but sometimes we'll announce it when we decide to go ahead with it and complete it. The place will be just for about 10 to 15 scientists. And in those 2 days, you learn a lot about out of the, what we call space technology, new space technology. And I hope this will take place in Tehran. And the process is very simple, that we teach you how to build space systems. And some of you who will attend that course will be requested to join the Keshe Foundation as a full-time members of the production line and the space testing. Any other question?
Okay, we have a couple of hands up here. We have Azar. Would you like to go ahead, Azar?
Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe.
Good morning. It sounds you just woke up.
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I woke up actually. You know, Mr. Keshe, there's few things I don't know, because these days, I mean, I don't know if sometimes I feel like I really don't know anything, but maybe these are part of my gibberish mind is telling me something. Or sometimes I think when you see things about human behavior, you wonder, I mean, you don't know the answer. So I just say what I have to say. Maybe you know the answer, maybe you can help, maybe you think, I don't know the knowledge, because a lot of time I think to myself, God, I don't know anything. I really don't know anything. So you see, when we look at things, when I look at how God created us, sometimes I think, was it a mistake? And then I realize maybe it wasn't a mistake. Because if I came to this world and just all was just good and no killing, no hate, none of that, how would I understand love? So it wasn't a mistake that was created, because we had to understand. If we didn't know hate or anger or any of this, I wouldn't appreciate love.
Why do we need
So-
to know that side to know the other side? Doesn't make sense.
But if it wasn't originated first, how would we understand? If it was everything from love from the beginning, so was it a mistake then?
Is the mistake or is the experience we have to learn from? When you fall in love, do you look at what is wrong in a person you fell in love with, or the entity, or whatever? Or you just look at the positive way and you build it? When it comes that you don't receive what you expect, you change it to hate, because you create expectation.
So, Mr. Keshe, the reason where I'm going with this is this, because I feel now with all the things we learn, for example, I enjoy sitting by a lake. I enjoy sitting under the tree. I enjoy looking at the flower. I enjoy to be with the lover. So I learn all that. I enjoy physicality. Now I think the way I feel now since we learned this, so it means that this physicality at one point it has to end, and what we take from here, any part of the universe, with what you're teaching us, I can create a lake, I can create a house out of gold if I want to, if I can create a house.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How do you think you came to this point?
You mean right now?
To understand you enjoy a lake.
Because I
Or you love
experienced
to be
it.
on the. So now you understand when I tell you we come here to experience, that we know what the experience is, that we can do things to stop it or prevent it or enhance it.
So that's what I'm talking about. So my feeling is in the future, this planet is going to go because there's not going to be any physicality. But what we take from here,
Who says
I can create.
We cannot go. We cannot go.
Because
it's
Mr. Keshe,
part of the operation.
I can go to another universe, create the same thing I have here with what you
So for you, it's not that, but it doesn't end just because you learn something. It might be a new beginning for you, but this journey has to be taken by many people.
Okay, so you mean
the
people who learn, they live and do it, but they won't.
You don't need to live. You experienced it. When you taste your lover, when you taste the loving process with your partner, you just get up and go. Oh, I learned it. That's it. Next one. You stay there.
But why this teaching? Why we learn? For example, what I learned or what you learn. How is it we cannot transfer it or give it to somebody else? Because
we do.
Because let me tell you this story, because I feel, because I went through so much tumultuous emotion yesterday because a patient come in, because I can't wrap my head around these things. And then is an African-American father, and his son was coming to me once a month, and he hasn't been to me for a while, for a long time. I asked his father about his well-being, and he said he's 22 years old. He has gone to take his girlfriend to her house. On his way back, he wanted to go get a haircut, so he wanted to make a shortcut, goes to the park from the underpath. 4 people, African-American, attack him, beat him up so much. They didn't take his phone, they didn't take his money, they didn't take his watch. They just beat him up that he was in a hospital for 2 weeks. And he is at home and constantly he has seizure. So I'm thinking to myself, 4 human, they weren't hungry, they didn't need anything to steal. But why that behavior? Why such a behavior exists? Why?
Well, the thing is, we do not prepare ourselves for these things, and we do not understand the reason. What you tell me is just a deja vu, because this happened to me and my family. One of my sons is a martial art black belt, and he is a very humble man. He walks the street like anybody else. And a few years ago, he said, "Papa, do you know what happened today?" I said, "What happened?" He said, "I was going to go to catch a train. And 4 black guys, Pakistanis and black guys, came to me. They wanted my leather jacket. And they pulled a knife out." Being a very humble boy, he said, "I don't know what happened, but there were 4 bodies on the floor and knives in my hand." And I said, "What happened to you?" He says, "There's a scratch somewhere on my arm on my leather jacket." I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Papa, I'm trained. I don't need to show when I walk it." But I had 4 literally dead bodies on the floor within seconds. We are not trained for it, but we have to be prepared for it. He would have been, that boy, maybe dead or maybe in the hospital with 4 knives. I had the same experience years ago with Bill Crammond, Lord Bill Crammond. His son was about 18, 19, and he's a black belt judo. He said, "Meron, we went out, and a couple of people came to attack him. They were on the floor, and he was standing there." And I said, "That was a good investment. I let him play judo," and the rest of it. And we are not prepared for it. If we are prepared for it, could he go into the dimension of the soul, that his physicality wasn't there to be abused? Is it to learn something from it? Is it for you, knowing with the knowledge you have, you can something to do that it might bring knowledge to you and change your future for him? Seizures can be reversed. We've done many of it over years. It does not matter how it comes. It's us that is not why it happened. It's are we prepared for it? Are we prepared to have a judo training or martial art training to defend ourselves? Or have we trained ourselves to go to the level of the soul that the body is not there for them to attack?
But Mr. Keshe, why is it that I don't go do this thing and jump on someone and beat up someone? Why I don't show that?
We are not brought up. You do something else, you go and attack them in their mouth with your drill. And you think you're doing a good job because you're a dentist. You're still attacking them because you're trained. You can justify it. You put them through pain, you give them the injection. Can't they use things? Can you teach them that they never have any tooth decay and they can sort it out themselves? We don't do things. I was in a diplomatic meeting very recently, and I said to the what do you call it, attaché, I said, you know something, you know what I'm talking about outside because you're aware of what's happening in the background. I said, you know something, my biggest enemy is the ambassador. You tell your ambassador, if you stop becoming my enemy, we can do something positive. He said, Mr. Keshe, I said, I'm very open. You speak to your ambassador. When we sort out your ambassador, which is, they tell me, ambassador like this, I don't need enemies, then we can accept, but we're still here to do something for you. And he had no answer to it. We have to be, we got to be, don't consider why I don't do it, because we are not mindset. We are not there to destroy, to get something out of it. We are mindset to help, to do. But I don't know, no one has that. And I've been involved with you dentists for years. Over 50 years I've been involved with you, 40 years with you dentists. You see yourself as an angel, but I don't know no one that can put a man through more pain than anybody than the dentist when you attack us in your teeth, in your mouth. But you justify it. I'm there to help you. I know no other profession that puts man through the pain.
Mr. Keshe, the other way is to people come to me with pain and get them with pain. I mean, yesterday.
No, but you give them more pain.
But
they
Mr.
come with
Keshe,
no pain. You said there is a hole there somewhere.
Mr.
Let me
Keshe,
drill it.
the girl come with the crying, and I stopped crying because I just, you know.
But not all your patients coming with crying. They come there because
Mr. Keshe,
they take something.
Mr. Keshe, no, Mr. Keshe, that's not true. You know, let me tell you something. I have kids come to me, and every single kids that comes to me after they see me, they come every time with a smile and jump on the chair, because I can tell you this one experience. This is, the boy is not 24 and he works now. He went to college. He came to me when the mother brought him. He was crying sitting on my chair. This little boy, he was like 6, 7 years old. And then I spent 1 hour just talking to him without doing anything. And after that, because I had to do extraction on him because his baby tooth had cavity on it and it was too bad. I did the extraction. He finished and he was smiling. After that, every time he came, right after that, he would come with a big smile, go sit on the chair. Still as a 24-year-old, he never missed any appointment. When he comes, he's my best friend. and
Yeah, but
he never misses because he knows if he goes and do the cleaning, he doesn't need to see me. So I mean, it's actually one of the things I always tell my patient. I said one of the major things that we're missing in our education, in the educational system, universities, is all about how you can make money. It's not about teaching people how to take care of the body. So when people come in, if you just shove your hand in their mouth without talking to them, so what you have this scary vision of the dentist. But when a kids come to you, when you speak to them, you teach them, you don't have to do anything with them anymore. Then they just come and do the cleaning. They never have any cavities. They're going to be fine.
yeah,
But
but
the
what
only thing
I'm
is,
trying to do is you talk about the pain. We are not trained, or we're not there to what do you call it, get others suffering. But in general, in speaking, we are not trained to do certain things. We are not trained, and some of us react to that kind of things. The reality is, some of us, we don't know when it happens how we react. We don't even remember how we react. It's a sequence of things which we go through, and it's automatic reaction. The reality is how we perceive our action is to be done or has had the effect of. We don't go out to harm. We don't go out to destroy. We sit, we do what we need to do to see the progressive development. But why other people go to harm, we don't know. They have their own reasons, they have their own mindset. I always said, I don't understand. We live in Austria, and now we see a lot of Ukrainian cars coming through. Some break on the side road. They don't know where they are. They're just driving to be away from where they are, where they were. Some of them are there till it gets better. And I've asked myself this question a few times. We know the reason. We see the background behind it. But did the Putin or the Russian leadership and the Vatican and the Russian Church could not work out this in a peaceful manner, and it had to get to this point? Or is there something as a human race we have to learn at the final stages of this killing process for the religion? If you look, Vatican did the same thing in Northern Ireland. They fought for 300 years. They wanted it because the access to that was the proof taking over the monarchy of the British monarchy since Henry VIII, Church of England. Now they have. This is not the skirmishes of a few hours. But why did they have to get to the point of a war? Why couldn't we discuss in Vatican and in the Church, Orthodox Church in what do you call it, in Moscow, or in St. Petersburg? Where we have forgotten the language of peace. Would one of you enter the space flight and you're so true to your wish in the soul that you want to elevate? It's not something that you have is fashionable, but truly within your own soul, you wish the elevation of the soul of the four leaders, and they all be elevated by your soul. And you start seeing the change in the coming years. Oh, they changed. I wish. But was that wish, was that soul elevation truly came within? That it, what we call it, reached the point? You know, if you were in England and you know about the beer game, it's called Heineken. There used to be an advertising called Heineken reaches the part that no other beer can reach. Would your soul be so sincere that can reach maybe one, maybe 10, maybe half of the world leaders that they walk away from the war because it was your sins. You brought their souls to your level. That's what we do when you go in the enhancement unit. Your energy is lower and the system is higher. It gives for it to elevate it that you don't have the cancer. Other the souls, the cancer cells that need to receive, to elevate with it. And it was given with sincerity. And because it was done in such a way that it fulfilled, it brought, next day there is no war. Next day there is no cup. Next day there is something positive. Maybe 100 of you go into the system and 10 of you have that sincere wish. And each one of you, according to the strength of you have, you can reach 1 or 2 or 10 of the ball leaders. Collectively, you receive 100 of them. You reach maybe 50 of them. This is the beauty of the new world. This is the beauty of the new science.
Mr. Kesh, another question is, yesterday in Farsi teaching, regarding your last week teaching, when you look at we talk about the creator and we talk about the decay, like when you have a neutron, we get a proton and electron. Because I think the discussion we had and then the different point of view, I think comes from maybe we look at things in a matter state, not plasma state, because they were saying, okay, we have the neutron and then proton and electron. Electron is the soul and a proton is the physicality. And then they were saying, no, not neutron is a soul. And
you decide which one.
So, and then we didn't, I really got confused. And I said, maybe I should ask you the question. So maybe you can explain.
You see, one stands the representation of the other. Without the electron, proton cannot manifest itself, and without the proton, electron cannot manifest itself. It's the interaction of the two which leads to manifestation of both. And as a nuclear physicist, for first thing we were taught, it's there. In reality, you cannot see the proton in a way. Those days we had these machines, we could see a fuzzy light moving fast. And they said, this is the electron.
But Mr. Kesh, Dr. Bayapur was saying, what about the hydrogen? Hydrogen, you look at the hydrogen and it's not decaying. So where is the
hydrogen decays? Who says it doesn't? Hydrogen decays more than anything else. Why is the source of energy? If you look in the amino acid, we always said the energy comes released by the interaction with it. How it cannot do if it wasn't. It irritates, it agitates, it forces according to its position in respect to nitrogen to release energy. And part of it absorbs itself. This is the lack of understanding in the world of the nuclear scientists or nuclear physics or in biology. When you have a proton, electron, and oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, in this position, you get a specific field release, which is good for the cell of the brain. If I put oxygen here and put the carbon here, oxygen here and put carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen here, you get a different field released. And this is good for the cell of your heart. We haven't understood the totality, a three-dimensional active plasma life. It's not that this is an isotope of oxygen. The positioning interaction now it has to interact with 3 different ways. Now the oxygen has a different position in interaction. And it's the same. We are so we think in singularity, that that we cannot see three-dimensional. When a body finishes for the energy of this structure for the brain, it doesn't destroy it. Because of his new orientation and things, now this is good for the cell of the kidney. And when it finishes releasing energies for the kidney, it's good for the cell of the leg. Once our body generates, creates a thing, just doesn't get rid of it because one cycle is finished. It uses it to its maximum. And then it rejects it if it cannot use it anymore. This is what the world of science, world of biology, medicine have not understood. When you have a cell which every 28 days or every 500 days or whatever goes and gets rejected, it doesn't go as part of your, what do you call it, experiment, as part of urinating. It goes that it can be used for everything possible, then is rejected. And sometimes this transportation leads to the transplantation of cancer cells because they pick up the code of energy fields. We've seen this in women. When you go through your monthly menstruation, you prepare the body for new birth. The body collects all vitamins, everything else, even calcium from the hip of the mother, because that's a ready-made element, totally converted, and it brings it ready for the cycle to create a new life, new information and dimension, because every cell has a calcium within it. The child is not born. The body just doesn't reject everything. It puts it back, store it, as the mother is going to feed the child. That calcium goes to the breast. But it stores it, doesn't waste it. And if you understand this, a lot of illnesses can be stopped. Because we transport it, we don't understand the cycle of a step down or a step up of the energy of the cells. And this is the progressive development of an understanding of the knowledge. Then, in this process, which one is the soul of the system? Or does the soul of the system in this amino acid is here this time, but it's here next time? We have to open a level of not understanding, but realizing the truth, and we see it. This is why in the last teaching I talked about bringing these cells into the vacuum and see how three-dimensional they look. The knowledge, the science, and the technology has to be understood in all its facets and dimensions. Not just because we understand our part, we think we understand our part.
Mr. Keshe, the last thing, if you permit, you've been to cinema and you go sit on the chair.
No, I don't know what it is, a cinema.
Cinema.
I call it a sleeping chair.
Okay.
Actually, I tell you, when I go to cinema, the first 5 minutes I'm awake, and I wake up the last 2 minutes before the movie is finished.
Maybe Mr. Keshe, you're not the only one. I'm like that too, so no worries. But you've been to cinema. So when you sit in the chair, you see a bigger screen in front of you and there's nothing there. And then suddenly when the projector in the back starts, you see the hero, the villain, the lover, and you see all those action. You see a kiss, you get affection by it, you feel good, suddenly somebody screams, you jump. And because the screen show you that, but then when you get up and you stand and you look into the light, and all is come from that light, it doesn't exist. So the creator himself is that light, that when the light of it shine on earth, on a condition of earth, this screen is showing, but actually if I go up to the light, I don't have to see what is on the screen. I can change it. Is it right?
What about the projector? And what about the film in the projector?
But I become the light.
Now you become a stuck after light because the screen will be black.
But the creator, but okay. So if we go to
Have you ever been to the cinema, especially when you sit in the back row when you're young, and you try if you can reach the projector light?
Yeah.
You used to do that in Tehran, and then you move your two fingers, and on the screen appears like a bird flying.
Yes.
So you haven't changed the light; you just
interfere
with the light.
Okay, so if you go there, so we go to the creator. So I can go to that light, which is the creator. But then you said the creator was created by the other field. So the other field is the projector.
Yeah. So.
And then okay, so now I have to go further than light to the projector then.
Yeah.
Then I can change.
You're just maybe now you have to do the whole movie before you can change anything.
Not change it in a way that I change it for everybody else, but my perception of what I see is going to change.
Maybe.
Maybe you'd have to get to know the projector operator.
I think Rick is talking about himself. You better talk that he can put it right. But in a way, we cannot change the course in so many ways. If the course is set, the movie will carry on. You think you blocked it, the movie will be played the next session, it will be the same without you interfering in it.
So what you're saying I have to go through what I see and finish it.
It is. That's why you went to the movie, to see what other people have made that you can watch. There's a beautiful thing. Wang Lin is here. She can explain to you. You've seen the movie Avatar, and these valleys and mountains and hills actually exist. It's a beautiful place, part of China. We had the pleasure to be taken there and to see it, and it's one of the most wonderful places in the world. The beauty of it and the extent of it is breathtaking. And when you see the movie, they add characters into it. In essence, does not exist in that dimension. They made it to look, and they create the perception that in these beautiful mountains of China, such a thing exists. It's one of the most beautiful places on this planet. And is it the reality of those things which you see in the movie, or is it something that we accept what's in the background as a reality and the rest is production made for us to believe in? And apparently Avatar 2 is coming out at the end of this year, called The Water. And what is the extent of reality and made to believe? And how much we can change that made to believe? But the reality stays there. The mountains won't change, the trees won't be there. The most beautiful valleys in the universe are within that mountain range. It's an experience. If you get a chance, go to China and go and see it once they open up. It is beyond belief how reality is. Because I watched the movie, and when you see the environment, it just, you expect the people you see in the movie to pop out somewhere, but they're not there. Because it's imagination we made. We fit it onto a reality which is there, we cannot change. The creator is the reality. Our life is that imagination we built on it, and we want to fit into it, that it becomes one.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Us who has to understand it. If you get a chance to go to China, go and see this area, what we call it out. And
where is in China, Mr. Keshe?
Oh, just go on the travel agents. At the moment, everything is banned. You cannot go in. But when it comes, Banglin is in the background. Banglin, are you there? Could you tell us where it is? Is she with us? No, she has left. The reality is the creator is there. We would like to create an image on his what we call canvas. That canvas does not change. Any other question?
عذرخواهی میکنم جناب پروفسور. سلام عرض شد.
آقای دکتر براپور.
حالتون چطوره؟
خیلی ممنونم.
قربان شما سلامت باشید. ببخشید
من ترجمه کنم. Let me explain.
تمنام کنم. لطف میکنم.
Dr. Barapur, one of the heads of the Keshe Foundation in Iran, is online, and he doesn't speak English so good, so I try to translate. Or Azari, you better do it because you're both medicals. You understand much better than I do.
Okay, I can do it if you want.
Please,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
سلام خانم دکتر.
سلام، خوب هستین؟
ممنونم، شما خوب هستین؟
خیلی ممنون.
ببخشید راجع به داستان دیشب صحبتی که شده بود جناب پروفسور، اصلا صحبت دیکی نبود که بگیم دیکی میشه یا دیکی نمیشه یه چیزی. متاسفانه هرچی ما میگفتیم نمیتونستیم چیمونو بگیم. صحبت شد که روح در بدن انسان و در تمام خلقت معادل با الکترون هست و ما گفتیم که همچین جانم
میخوای من ترنسلیت کنم تا اینجا صحبت کردی یا میخواین ادامه بدیم؟
تمام کنم هر جور سلام به شما یا جناب پروفسور. من در خدمت.
Dr. Lapur is saying last night discussion wasn't about decay or not decay. We were talking about the soul in everything, like in everything that exists. Go ahead, Dr. Lapur.
خواهش می‌کنم. و صحبتی که شد جناب بوجارم گفتم معادل با الکترون هست و پروتون معادل با فیزیکالیتی و ما گفتیم که توی ورکشاپ های قبلیمون داشتیم که سول با قانون سول آف کریئتورمون معادل پروتون هست و سول آف فیزیکالیتی اون معادل، یعنی فیزیکالیتی معادل الکترون و این پارادوکسی که بودش و ما سوال کرده بودیم که چرا اینجوری هست و ایشون گفتن نگفتن اگر اینجوری باشه اگر بیاریم توی فرم ببخشید من همینجوری اگه ترجمه کنم.
Okay, Dr. Lapur is asking, we weren't talking about, we talk about the proton to be the soul and then the proton be physicality and the neutron be the soul of the creator. Now electron be the soul of the physical soul of the soul itself,
creator,
the creator. But in the past we were saying the neutron was the creator or the soul and the
proton is برعکس میخوانه پروتون سول آف کریئتورون هست و قبلا اینجوری گفته شده بود و الکترون سول آف فیزیکال بادی یا فیزیکال بادی.
Okay, in the past was saying proton was the soul of the soul of the creator and the electron was the physicality. Now we're saying the other way around.
سوالی که کرده بودیم دیشب جناب پروفسور همین بود که آیا سول آف کریئتور ما معادل پروتون باید بگیم یا معادل الکترون؟ برای اینکه فرض کنیم مثلا توی اتم هم هر چیزی که تو کوچیک هست تو بزرگ هم هست، بالا هم هست، پایین هم هست. اگر یه اتم رو در نظر بگیم یه اتم هیدروژن، من اینو سوال کرده بودم که یک اتم هیدروژنی که قرار نیست هیچ واپاشه فروپاشه یا هیچ بلایی سرش بیاد، فقط یه هیدروژن میچاره. حالا تو این هیدروژنه این مرکز هستمون در حقیقت که یه پروتون هستش، این فیزیکالیتیه یا معادل سوله؟
Mr. Cash, are you there?
خانم دکتر ترجمه نمی‌کنی؟
Okay.
Okay,
Dr. Lapur is saying we're talking one hydrogen, the hydrogen that is not doing anything, any decay, but the essence of it, the proton in it, is it the soul or is it physicality?
it depends on what scale you're talking about, what you're talking about in what do you call it, position and dimension. When we teach, please listen to the whole discussion and not to one part. In a way, this, if you look at it, the soul of the creator is within the proton. But without, and on the other hand, the soul of the man is within the electron. But at a position when the soul of the man itself becomes the center in respect to the soul of the creator, which you call it a proton, because it came from it. It's the same part. You have to understand in what space, time, and position and what we are talking about. And not just because we said the proton is the soul of the creator and the electron is the soul of the man, or the soul of the creator is the electron and the proton is the soul of the man. In understanding in what context we're talking about, this is what is important. Go back to the teaching, why we said this is this, and in the next teaching, in respect to the soul of the man, we see the soul of the man as a proton and the soul of the physicality as an electron. And the interaction of the two creates that atom, doesn't matter hydrogen or whatever. Or is the soul of the creator is so intense and so interactive that the soul of the man is literally, if you look at the dimension of the proton as being non-movable, it hardly moves in a way, if you look at it in respect to the electron, is that electron is the soul of the creator and the man, which is literally nothing compared to the action and the dimension of the, what do you call it, the soul of the creator. We have to understand in what dimension we talk about and what we're talking about. Because when the soul of the man, when the soul of the man is the proton, it means is within the fields of the creator, which is active at much higher strength than the proton. Do you want to translate? Or are you lost? میخوایم خودم ترجمه کنم راحت.
اوکی.
ببینید آقای دکتر برخورد، بسیار داره راجع به چه موقعیتی صحبت میکنید.
بله من متوجه شدم جناب پروفسور، ولی دیشب صحبت این شده بود که تو همه چیز، حتی یونیورس مرکزش که اولا که گفتن اصلا مرکزی به اسم خالق وجود نداره، بعدش هم گفتن که این مرکز الکترونه و تو بدن انسان هم soul of creator الکترونه نسبت به فیزیکالیتی بدن انسان و نسبت به فیزیکالیتی.
من نبودم اونجا که باید اون چیزو که جواب باید همه رو گوش بدیم ببینیم چه مطرح چی بوده. ببینیم بعضی اوقات
و اینکه برای مثال همین که من عرض کردم خدمتتون هیدروژن، گفتم اصلا بدون اینکه در نظر بگیریم با هیچ چیز دیگه توی یک اتم هیدروژن اون سول اصلیش توی پروتون هست و الکترون‌ها میشن فیزیکالیتی که دورش میگردن. اینجوری باید تصورش کنیم. یا تو بدن انسان سول آف کریتور تو مرکز تو مغزمونه و فیزیکال بادی میشه الکترونی که دورش داره میچرخه. ولی میگفتن که خیر.
نه
در رابطه با قیاس با کریتور نبود که آدم در سول انسان در قبال سول کریتور چه حالتی داره. نه، تو کل موجودات، تو کل خلقت، حتی یونیورس، حتی صحبت هیدروژن و بدن انسان یا چیزای دیگه هم که شد، گفتم بلا استثنا سول آف کریتور حکم چی رو داره؟ الکترون رو داره و سول آف فیزیکال بادی پروتون.
باید بیشتر بفهمیم چی بوده تا به دقیقا برسیم. تفصیل داره به چه ایشون چی فهمیدم از شما، چی منظورتون بوده راجع به اون موقعیت؟
من منظورم این بودش که توی ورکشاپ فکر کنم 362 بودش که داشتیم که ما سول انسان مثل پروتون میمونه و ما باید این بندریش رو بیاریم بیرونتر از اون حد به قول من فیزیکال بادی که بتونه اون رو در بر بگیره که اون انولوپ دورمون ایجاد بشه. و اون توضیحی هم که داده بودیم فرموده بودیم که به خاطر مثل اون حالت همجوشی توی اتم هستش که پروتون میاد روی الکترون ها، اون میدان های پروتون روی میدان های الکترون در حقیقت میگیره. ولی صحبتی که دیشب شد گفتن که نه، به طور عام هر چی که فیزیکالیتی از پروتونه و هر چی که چی هستش اون به قول معروف سول آف کریتور الکترون هستش. گفتم اگه اینجوری باشه الکترون داره دور پروتون میگرده که نمیشه هم چیزی هستن.
بله، ولی اونجور هم میشه بعضی وقت بسیار از چه موقعیتی نگاه میکنیم بهش.
بله اگه در قیاس با سول کریتور بگیم بعد ما حکم الکترون رو پیدا میکنیم.
خیلی متشکرم دکتر بهروزی.
سلامت باشید.
خیلی متشکرم. Sorry about this. I'm just shortly translated. Dr. Baruch says we have to understand that we were not in the teaching yesterday, so this is an extra part of two different understanding of the whole teachings and interpretation of as an electron, which one is the soul of the man, and as a proton, which one is the soul of the creator. And as I said, is we have to understand the time, position, and space, and what we're expecting to see from what and to where position. Are we looking for the love of the creator, or are we looking for the detachment of the man from the creation and the creator that is in there confirms existence? And this is what the discussion has been. Some of these teachings, which goes on in different languages, gets very exciting for translators and what we call the participants. I've been in a few, it gets sometimes very, very hot when one cannot understand the other and one tries to stick to the line. As I was discussing with one of our Italian team members a couple of nights ago in a conversation, that we have to understand our teachings. We have to understand our teachings, when we teach, that not everyone is at the level of the one we are, and some are ahead of us and some just joined in. We have to be, in a way, equal, that everybody takes something from the teaching, especially the translation groups and then the workshops which goes afterwards. A lot of workshops goes on around the Keshmir mission around the world in different languages. And we should not look at the foundation just because of somebody who teaches something. And we see a lot of the teachers who just been there a little bit longer, they think they have all the rights and they're right in what they say. And they cause a lot of problem for themselves and a lot of knowledge seekers. Any other question?
ممنونم جناب پروفسور.
خیلی متشکرم.
Okay, we've got a couple more hands up here with Stefania. If she can, she might need a bit of time because there's a delay in her transmission there apparently. And we have Moshfek as well after that. Stefania, can you go ahead? She may need actually a few minutes. Perhaps she has to pull over or something.
As usual with the Italians.
They're always on the go. Well, let's listen to what Moshfek has to say then.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. Hello, everybody. We had discussion about, turning bedroom into our lab. So this is, I'm talking about an experiment I did in the bedroom. So this experiment is about lowering the field of the blood so that the soul can travel, just like we do in the dream. But I was trying to do it consciously. And my aim was to go to a specific location in Brazil where I have visited with my friends. And I was doing it in my afternoon time, and I could sense that I'm in that location. My senses were not as focused, but nevertheless, I could tell. And when I got there, I was startled to find out it was daytime, because I assumed that it would be nighttime in Brazil, but actually it was early in the morning. So I felt and I could tell the environment. It was not particularly clear because it was my first time kind of doing this. And so, and then I came back. And so my question is, I could see that the soul travel can be done consciously. Yeah, of course, I need to work on it. But what I'm interested in is that, since it's a bedroom, I'm doing it in the bedroom, I can take my body with me over there. And how would I design an experiment? Some hints, maybe to enclose my body in the soul field and do the traversal. So it's clear that I can travel. Now, although I'm not good at it, but nevertheless it worked.
You're learning. You're in the sandbox.
Yeah, I'm in the sandbox. I want to see how I can extend, go from one part of the sandbox to the other part of the sandbox. So that's it.
Yeah, what happened? It goes by testing or detachment. And I've mentioned this before. I know one lady living in Bruges in Belgium who could do it. And she started doing it from childhood. And people like in Tibet, they could see her. She always went to the same place because it's the only way in her mind where she could find peace, what was happening to her in the dimension of physicality. In a way, she was there in physicality, and she manifests herself in physicality in Tibet. She was physically abused by father, the grandfather, and the brother at the same time, sexually. And she was taken from pub to be abused. This is tradition in Belgium. Don't get shocked with it. And they opened pubs and they put their children to earn money out of it. This is a tradition in Belgium. Don't get shocked. And she came to me, and I used to go to her house to meet others. And she wrote this and gave it to us as a paper, as a dossier, that because she didn't want to face the abuse, the pain of men raping her, she managed to lock into and go where childhood, wherever she heard that Tibet is somewhere, she can be there. She could be there, people could see her, she explained, and being aware that the body is getting abused by men at the age of 6, 7, 8, whatever. And there are people who do this because you want to do it, but she says she could do it every time the father, the grandfather, and the brother were together abusing her. And I explained, I met with her maybe 30, 40 times, maybe more. And I tried to intrigue into this, to understand more, because how could she manifest herself in Tibet? And she says, this is the where I could find peace, where my physicality in this dimension had no meaning. When they finished with it, my father could pick the body up and take it to the other pub for the other man to abuse me. And so it's not just exercising, it's that you choose how and where. And this is what I said. We can pre-plan it when you go to sleep, and we can accidentally go to sleep. You set to get better to do it. Try to set it up that you don't need to force yourself. It's like I said, we had a Spanish couple in Valletta. They were sitting there. The guy was trying to push to see if the pen moves. And I said, it's not very done. You have to understand the soul of the pen, and you ask it if you want to please you. Or you go to the next extent of learning more and more to do it. You're not the only one, Mushrak. Many, many knowledge seekers are taking this path. They're testing it, and they're seeing what they want. And some of the knowledge seekers preempt where they want to be before they go to sleep, and in the physical dimension, go through that path to where they planned. I get a lot of knowledge seekers sending messages or whatever explanation of the dreams. And this time they could control it. You don't need to force it. If you understand it, pre-plan it, not pre-plan it. You know, like I want to go to town today to buy a pair of trousers. I go to bed, I want to go and see the Uncle Sam. Or I want to go to the zoo. And then you come to it and see if you went to the zoo when you woke up. An hour of the zoo, you remember. These are important for us. I learned through a number of people who I met in this circle with the nun and this lady, a lot about the fact that how many women create that condition in Belgium, because some of them commit suicide because they cannot take that, and they never learn how to let the physicality go and just be there when you come back. Children abused by the nation, by this culture of Belgium, is as you go to cinema. If you haven't lived in it, you don't understand it. But then you understand the people who are the victims, what they went through. And then you see those who had the same experience, if they find each other, they gather together. And they tell you the experiences, how they do. And what they can leave detached from the physicality, because at the age of 6, 7, a man of 30, 40 abuses you, the pain is too much. But the father gets paid. To you, it's revolting, but this is a fact in this nation. And one day, you remember, I hiddenly brought Alex out when he received threat. I'll bring this lady for you, for her to explain. She's very open about it. And then you see the people who actually do it. I came to this group through the Belgian security who appointed a nun or a woman who looked after these children who were abused by the priests from young age in the church. And many of them couldn't accept by just 17, 18 commit suicide. And I was asked to meet with this lady who's supposed to be finding a way to stop this process of abuse of the priests raping 6, 7, 8-year-old children. And she said, I can understand many of these children commit suicide because they can't take it. They go to church to pray, but they get abused. And they cannot, nobody believes them because they do it themselves. And many of them learn this going through the soul and detaching from the body. They do what they like with it. I come back to them, they finish. But we do that in the sleep. We go to bed. Maybe we created the sleep for this purpose. It's not physical repair. It's for our soul to have its time to be on its own because the physicality is locked here in this bed. And now we are trying to learn how to become conscious of where it goes. And we want to be the what we call decision maker in that trouble. This is what it's about, no more, no less. You decide where you go, and then you need the practice.
I'm sorry, but I wanted to add that it was not in a dream what I did. It was a consciously,
Yes,
all of it was,
yes. These people do it consciously. Yeah. These people do it consciously.
Yes, but I mean, that's a more traumatic experience, but
yeah,
I'm
but
trying to
let me explain to you. Thank you very much for bringing this up. I understand what you're saying. That was the whole purpose. It's done consciously. But consciously, you can plan it before you go to sleep. Before, In a way, you force yourself to go there. Now you know you go there, but you can pre-plan it tonight. Okay, when the physicality is here, I decide I want to go and see, what do you call it? Uncle. Or I want to go to see another universe, another dimension, or I want to see something I haven't seen. Some of you which will go through the enhancement unit flight system will reach that point. Your eyes will be open to a new dimension. It's not the out-of-body experience as I've seen written in one of the notes. It is you deciding where the soul goes out of your body when it's in bed. When you put it there, when not in bed, in the sleep time, it could be on the sofa, it could be in the desert. You allow the two to grow and you respect even the knowledge they bring back. You know, it's like you say, when I get a holiday, I go and see the uncle. Bedtime, sleep time is a holiday time for the physicality, the soul goes and you go with it. But you can decide. More and more of you are practicing this and you're seeing it, and gradually you're becoming to understand you can live in one dimension or the other with respect to the one is still existing. We don't need the death to bring that separation. We make that part of us. And this is the beauty of it. This is the beauty of it. I in the course of the works in Belgium, came across this group. And they're very precise, and you can check that beside the confirm. It's not just a dream, or it's something they wish. Because there, you give yourself a dimension of physicality, because now the soul is there, it can do and create that dimension of the physicality, how it looks. And it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. A very interesting thing is with this abusive behavior in Belgium, that usually parents use all the daughters of the family, 2 or 3 of them. And you see the ones which are, they enjoy the abuse, or in a way, they were part of it, they are very slim. And the sisters who are not, could not accept and could not go through that acceptance, that take pleasure from the abuse in a way because they feel in charge. I've spoken about this before in other teaching. They are very fat, all of them. You see, sister and a brother, a sister and 2 sisters taken from pub to pub, or people come home to abuse them and they pay the parents for it. The one who has been part of it and being there knows I have got nothing to do. You know, I'm part of it, I enjoy it. They're very slim. The other children are all fat, beyond some of them fat. They make themselves so ugly not to be touched by them, by the men abuse them more because there's more who abuse. And we've seen this. You see this in Belgium quite often. When you see 2 sisters on the street, I attended a conference in Ronson, where the people who are abused by this, I gave a talk to this group. And you see, wherever there are 2 sisters, and when I pointed out to them, they know. It's us who chooses. And how is that? And how we leave that soul. And what we accept and how we do it. Any other question? Have we managed to get Stefania back?
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Mr. Cash, yes, finally. But most of the question has been answered, but I had one I would like to make. But is regarding again what you were talking before about the circles. I noticed last week in the public teaching, you make a big circle that divided in two, one smaller, one bigger. The bigger one divided in two, but the smaller divided in one. I'm wondering if it was a mistake or
No, it's
reason why
just
you
a
done
process
that.
of teaching. It's just a process of teaching. Because we don't repeat and repeat.
Because I thought the bigger one was I saw it this way. No, obviously everyone sees different way. I saw it like was the soul of the man. That once we go that way, with the soul of the man, we can then decide to make the physical soul another. And again, no, actually, no. Don't worry. I think I'm confused because I thought when you
This is so easy to
yeah.
confuse. All the Italians are just confused.
But then another things for the vacuum, because you ask us where the force fields come from, and I thought about that all week, and definitely the vacuum has something to do with it, and but I was thinking who creating the vacuum, and I thought. The vacuum maybe is created from an intention or recalling the sensation of the feelings of the creator, because maybe the feelings of the creator are so strong and so powerful they can make this vacuum. But who make the intention of creating the vacuum or because, for example, in my work, every movement is connecting to feelings. You cannot separate the two. So the vacuum is a movement of the fields interacting in one or the other. So it has to be a sensation connected to that because cannot be separated. They're the same things. So, but then I'm thinking, who then created sensation? And then I think the sensation could be created from intention, because this is how we learn how to, when we're babies, we create a movement because we copy something that we see every day, and then we copy, and we make all these movements, until every movement then is attached to sensation. So I'm thinking, who created the vacuums? So this was my questions.
What we call vacuum is a matter state combination of plasmas not to exist in that given pressure. In the world of creation, we don't have that. We have fields and we have rays and particles, as we call it, depends when it becomes a plasma collection. And we cannot have a vacuum of fields. We can have vacuum of collection of fields we call a plasma. And even 100% vacuum in the world of matter state is impossible, because we cannot create a field extraction, a strength of the full spectrum of the what we call energies. We tested this quite a lot in the lab, because fortunately we have a system here in Linz as well, which is a very powerful small chamber vacuum, a small chamber, and we can reach up to minus 12, 13 if we push it. But in Bruges, we could reach, but we could control stage by stage of the vacuum. We could go to minus 2, minus 5, minus 10. And we could see the interactions of what we get in our systems. When you go to minus 4 or minus 5, you get huge interactions in your reactor, because you haven't vacuumed everything out in the all full spectrum. You still have some particles left. when you go to 10 or 8, you see change of the interactions. Because now you have less of plasma, but now you have more of fields. This is why our atomic, or what we call nuclear sources, work better. Because when you have the plasma of the elements as whatever, our fields, our radiation will travel and gets absorbed by them, maybe 2 centimeters. But if we go to up to, let's say, -8, it travels 6 centimeters. But if you go to -12, it travels 21.6 centimeters. The fields are still there as a ray, nuclear atomic rays, but collection of the plasmas don't exist because we extract. But then we see what we call a sharp pinch in it. And we couldn't understand how suddenly we vacuum the chambers, so we get a ping. What we very quickly understood was that because if you look at all our systems are made of carbon plastic combination of CH, the radiation was weakening these, so some of these surface material were released as atomic and now became the material that we had to vacuum. Then if you look, I was looking at one of these reactors very recently. We came, if you were in, doesn't sound acknowledged because you've seen it, we put a copper laying into this, what do you call, into these reactors, that we nano-coated the copper lay, that we would not allow what we call diffusion of the plasma. And we could keep the reactors very, very stable without the peaks in it. So we create vacuum in what we call vacuum chambers, but this is in the matter elements like hydrogen or whatever. But we cannot create a vacuum of fields, magnetic fields. It is not something which is impossible. It can be achieved. It's very hard to achieve, but the only way you can do it is like opening, you know, when you open a curtain, 2 sides, and you peep your head in through between the 2 curtains. We can create, and we have the knowledge to be able to create this, what you call vacuum curtain for a short time. And we have to close it because maintaining it in a field dimension is very, very difficult. I've done this many times, but I use it to allow cosmic rays in. And it needs a very much deeper understanding of release of fields in dimensions where you can control it. This we do the same. Part of this principle goes back the same with enhancement units. Enhancement units have a nano layer separation for this purpose, that we don't allow other fields to come in, and we can control the gravitational fields within our reactors, within our system. So you can create vacuum of the matter plasma if you can get a full spectrum, or but it's very, very hard to create a zero field. Even when we open a curtain, that curtain is for a specific strength. It's not for all the full spectrum of the strength. You have other fields going through that open window as they were going before. It is very, very hard to achieve a full, actually it's impossible to achieve a field vacuum. Plasma vacuum is possible. It's very not difficult, but it's achievable. And we will see this in the spectrum of the works of the flight units, that we create the conditions And this is one of the reasons we will not allow, or we change the dimension to a flight without a physicality. Try to explain more of it, but zero vacuum in the fields is full spectrum, is impossibility. It does not exist anywhere in the universe. Because there's always fields. It's like neutrinos. We don't see them, but they pass through us because we haven't managed, we haven't grasped the idea of the total. We can create vacuum in a given spectrum strength according to what we want. And that's all it is. But matter state plasma, very, very difficult because you always, through vacuum, you degenerate part of the wall of your system. And we've seen it quite, especially if we use radioactive fields, it becomes harder because your radioactives become the cause of the separation of the, what do you call it, the particles from the body of the reactor. Any other question?
Would the nano-coated copper be one of the better surfaces to resist that kind of impact?
Partially, yes, but again, you have to understand how you nanocoat. Because when you nanocoat, you actually create more free space, more free electrons to be freed, or atoms to be freed, because you have created that space gap. When the particle is at the surface, it's tightly packed. When you put it in a nanocoat, now you have created that separation. And it's much harder to what you call control. But there are ways that you can do this, but you have to know how you do it.
If you had a working plasma in that nano layer that would repel the other plasma in the main part of the reactor, would that be a solution?
Yeah, it depends what purpose you're using it. What's the purpose of the work? Somewhere it could be advantageous, and in another case doesn't mean it could be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? This is part of what entails is horses for courses. In specific reactors, especially, you've seen that copper reactor we have, which was used for energy production. The nano coating on this is literally powder. You can scoop it. You can scoop nanoparticles from the surface. It was built for that purpose, to build up energy in the layers that the fields cannot escape. We use the properties of the nano layer to create that, what do you call it, that resistance. You cannot do it with the matter state. You cannot put a mechanical system to block the field. But the reason you see a nano layer black is because you create trap holes for the field. This is a technique which we developed over years. And you have to understand how you do it, what thickness you're doing it, the reason you're doing it. Why are you creating this condition? What do you expect from the operation and testing? These are all combination. That's why I say you have to not only understand, but when you make reactors, consider all aspects, all dimensions, and not just I think this is what I'm going to do, but then you are ignorant to what is happening behind the curtain by the fields and the materials. You're thinking you're actually creating a vacuum, but you actually are releasing more atoms because your plastic is so weak that allows to do such a thing. If you've done the Coca-Cola bottle, creating the first, what do you call it, the first ganses, and as a trap, the Coca-Cola bottle test, you see that in 2 spots in the bottle, you get holes, and the cap of the what do you call it, Coca-Cola bottle dissolves. But you never thought, but you thought you created a good condition, but you're actually releasing more and more what you call it, atoms from the layer of the bottle into the environment. It's not a vacuum, it gets more denser material. You think you're working at -10, but you're actually +20 because you never consider that the, what do you call it? The wall of your Coca-Cola is releasing millions and billions of atoms into what you thought was a vacuum. We do that in the testing of the creation of a specific field. We cannot contain, we need a specific field strength, especially when we use helium as layering. Helium escapes through the wall. It's one of the most nastiest things to work with. And we spend time trying to find a way to hold the helium. And it was very simple. I walked into a balloon shop, and the guy was blowing up the balloons with the helium gas for children. And we said, you cannot hold it. The only thing we do, we spray the wall of the balloon, we spray into the balloon with a helium sealant. I took it, I went, I tested it, and it works. I can hold the helium within the containers, but then you have another problem with the structure you have to sort out. Depends what you want to do and what test you're doing. You're well into this, Rick. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Interesting.
Mr. Keshe, so for example, when you were talking just now about us traveling with the soul, no? So when we're traveling with the soul, all this, it's not a problem. We don't have a problem with
you never had a problem traveling with soul because you dream every night.
Yeah.
So you have to find out what you haven't understood what you're doing when you let the body loose.
But for example, when we were in the Mahjar, no, you told us, do you remember you said the next day you're gonna fly, no? So so we were four people with intention to make a spacecraft. And then I felt this pulling, and I was wondering if that pulling was when you said, when you balance the fields, you know, when you said just now, the pilots have to equalize the fields with the enhancement unit. So I was wondering if when I felt that force, you know, it was like coming from underneath up, and that difference of weight, if it was this building up of fields to then have this rejection, like this decay thing happening. I was wondering, you know, because with human, I suppose we are vacuum. You said last week we are also vacuum. We all vacuum. So we could do it between us easier than. So now I understand why you said the enhancement unit is enhance. So is enhance what we can do.
Yeah, but it depends how you are and what is the reason. If the reason is correct and is for not you, but let's say the benefit of the others or benefit of another person than you always can reach it out very quickly. I had this experience past couple of days. The foundation needed a massive support. And I reached through my soul and the person felt there is something. And when I called on the phone, the person said, I already had a feeling. Because the desire is for the elevation of the soul of the foundation. It's not for me. And that response was sincere enough to be passed through the soul before the physicality could feel it. We do not abuse our knowledge, but when there is a need, we convey the knowledge. And we say, oh, I felt something. It's not, because the soul has already been reached The need is there, is sincere, and it's for the betterment, elevation of the whole foundation. It's not for a person. And we learn this. We start communicating at the soul level. We start understanding is my soul who has received. So physicality is just a servant. Doesn't matter what the state it is, what we consider it to be. If the desire is sincere and is for elevation of another soul or a totality, always works out. Physicality is just a servant. And we see this on a regular basis. I've reached knowledge seekers through the wish of the, what I call enlargement, elevation of the soul of the foundation in humanity, and they always answer. Then we go to terms of physicality. We talk how it's going to be done. And this is something that knowledge seekers gradually will understand. You don't anymore think the same. Your soul works to bring the same. It's a very big difference. So I was just thinking about it, I just felt it. It's not that. It's just that the souls work on the same process, the same understanding, and for the same purpose. Doesn't matter what happens around it. I always said, I know the way to reach the soul of the man, and then it's the soul of the man to bring some dimension of physicality. I came with nothing and I go with nothing. And the whole purpose is to bring that change, to bring that elevation that in the future no man kills, no animal on this planet commits a crime, being taking for another soul. But this is the whole entirely understanding of the process of the teaching. Any other question?
We have a couple of more questions here, and one in the Q&A that I'd like to address. That's from Inacio, I think is the name, from Brazil. It's in Portuguese, which I have translated. And here's how the question goes. Inacio says, immense spacecraft have been found, some underground in places like Ukraine, Russia, central Brazil, Antarctica, and others submerged in the Atlantic Ocean. They called them arcs. They were left on the planet millennia ago by another race. They realized that 2 or 3 civilian humans with specific DNA, upon entering a specific room, could trigger the functioning with only their presence and mental intent. A sort of shimmering blue plasma bubble was formed, and a sort of portal was formed, through which instantly soldiers who were on another arc, Russia location, were transported to that arc, the Atlantic location. Are you aware of these facts? Would this be the same technology used in the space plasma unit?
Can I be honest? I have no clue what you're talking about. I heard about these things. And there is a lot of talk and things. But what you talk is not something out of reality. You got to understand that when you're dealing with the space technology the way people of the universe do, they're not just because you saw a spaceship running above Jerusalem and disappeared. That another spaceship which comes from another position in the universe gets into problem. And what does it do? They don't land on the surfaces. Their plan was to go into the center of the Earth to see the beauties of the interaction of the fields of the plasma, and system malfunctions. So somewhere in between the two, or an entry and change of fields, the thing happens. And you lose everything. This is why, going back to the teaching of today, I said, we set up a system which has no dimension of tangibility. That's one of the reasons for it. When you travel in the space dimension, you have to accept its pitfalls. You have to understand its pitfalls. And Earth is a beautiful place. And it's like you go to see Niagara Falls. People of the universe come to see Earth, the beauty of it. And sometimes system fails. Sometimes the captain gets fall in love with a mermaid of the Earth and gets distracted, and the whole craft gets stuck somewhere in the middle of the ocean or between the rocks while it's going to the center or somewhere else. What happened with our aircrafts when they crash? We go and find a black box to see what happened. These crafts, if you now understand we are not the only citizens of this planet and this universe, then you understand our visitors, they crash. The crash with them doesn't come in the form of, what do you call it, the scattered pieces. It comes with a failure and depends on the structure in what magnetic field is set there. These are part of the facts of the space travel. And then if you want to add to it, oh yes, what happens to you if you got a ship in the high seas? You abandon ship. Where do you send it to? When you abandon ship, when you have the rescue teams coming, do the people just jump in the ocean or you take them to another ship? Would that be any different? When we have a malfunction, it can contain the structure, but it can rescue or move people from one to another. We do it in a normal way. Why should it be any different in this position and direction? It will happen to all of us. This is why we prefer you to understand the position with the dimension, without the dimension of physicality. And even at the level of the soul, you get it wrong. You get trapped in a stone. Now, we have a beautiful say, you know, you want to go somewhere and you get stuck in the middle of, because even the stone has a soul. And then we say, first, it's got a beautiful, it means bring the donkey and try to load it up with what do you call it, with a piece. It's an impossibility. You have now to find a way to create the condition. Your system has failed. You do not create the fields to be able to move. So it's normal. You put elaborations on it because it happened. There's a spaceship. If and when we find its spaceships, confirms that Earth has been a tourist point for millions of years. And not all the tourists manage to get out. Sometimes they crash land. Sometimes the system changes fields or fields of the gravity of the Earth. It creates a condition that they stay locked in that position. It's that magnetic position. Now that we understand the truth about space technology, we have to understand the totality. And understand is a possibility. Go back to the teachings over the past years I've been trying to explain to you. We lose many of our earthly beings in the space travel due to accidents, malfunctioning of systems. Just because you think you got to the plasma technology or you can fly with a UFO, there'll be no problem. As the Americans say, wake up and smell the coffee. You have to understand there is a failure in every system. Even if you look at it, there's a failure in the creator system that is end up to be a man. We're trying to fix it. And this abandoned ship in the universe of the creator. Don't think for 1 second, just because because we found the space technology, now we go with UFO, you have as much failure as you have with the Boeing, Airbus, the yacht on the water, the car on the streets, and everything else which goes with it. It's you who has to understand and accept the risks. In the past, when we were on a donkey, the maximum could happen, you fell off a donkey, you broke a leg. We went to the cars, the maximum is you crash the car, you break a leg, break an arm, and then you might die. We went with flight system, and we saw a couple of shuttles on entry and whatever, they got exploded, and the same thing happened again. And we'll have the same with what you call UFOs to come. It's a natural process of failures of the interaction of the fields the way you expected. Don't think that the space technology will be, oh, hunky-dory, that's it, we travel. Even we give you the shields, even we give you the protection, even we give you the high-speed transportation, there's still a factor of the field plasma of the universe which will interact. Nothing is 100% airtight and proof. As I always said, even the creator made a mistake, did not keep an eye on the ball, and led to the creation of the man with all the mayhem we see. If he can still have position to correct, guess what the man is and what the position of man is with what he's learning and trying to do. Any other question?
Yes, we have two hands up here. And first, perhaps you can address a question from Jan in the YouTube, who had a question earlier. I answered the question, but he repeated the question because I guess he wasn't happy with my answer. So the question is from Jan, why can't I see a structure in the teaching? 2 months ago, it was about learning to go from GANs to matter state. Then we jumped to the COHN and C isotopes. It feels like reading random chapters of a book.
Nothing is random because we have, as I said, a diversity of the knowledge and diversity of people as knowledge seekers. And in this classroom, we have to teach the children, you go to a village with one classroom and you have 20 children in a village. The school is one room and one teacher. Government cannot afford anymore teachers to send because all the teachers in the past and the other villages have kicked them out. So they're in that village and they have to be done. We have one teacher and 20 students from nursery, 2.5, 3 years old, and the guy who's 18 going to university before the university. And the teacher has to know how to talk to the nursery and how to talk to the guy to be ready to go into university. And unfortunately, we have millions of listeners and we have a spectrum of knowledge to teach with all of them. But every time we teach, we cover one part that everybody is learning, but adding to the knowledge. And it's amazing how some of you and you jump to something else, because in one part, we are making some of the scientists in the Kashmir Nation ready for that space, understanding of the gravity. In another part, we make you prepared to understand the structure of the physical matter state. Because those who are working that way, they need a nudge up. My soul is aware of the need at the time and the place and what needs to be taught. And as I said, some of you, half of you sit there as, what am I doing here today? But you hear something and maybe in 2 years' time, maybe in 2 weeks' time, say, now I understand what that teaching is about. And what it meant and what I can do with that knowledge which was shared. It's not static. It's very, very well designed, and it fits into each other the way it is. And we are. You have to understand. Some of you join us in the nursery level, and you are just ready to go to the second or the third class. It's the same teacher, but now we're still getting those who come through nursery. And the students sitting in there in second, third class have to listen to what we teach in nursery, but in that way they look at the new way in what they were taught in the nursery, but it's the same subject. We are well structured. I don't teach by man, I teach by the direction of the soul, and most of you have understood this better. I never carry a note. Teaching is a teaching to the soul and a dimension which is done by the process of the creation, step by step. We are messengers. We are not here teachers to teach and you have to follow. As I said to one of our knowledge seekers yesterday, the day before, is you have to be there just to share, not dictate. The teaching is very precise and it's exactly a course, and you cannot teach in one day everything. You have to bring that child from nursery to graduate. And just because today doesn't mean anything to you, it means a lot to the people who already been in that process of, as we said, the teaching when you talk with Moshe and he says he's trying, now you understand a lot of knowledge seekers are there. There are a lot of knowledge seekers. Some of them, they don't succeed because they haven't understood. They bring the dimension of physicality into it. I never use a single note, and the teachings are done at the level of the soul. And as many of the knowledge seekers tells you, by the voice we know if it's the messenger teaching or the man, that if it's the messenger. We are messengers of the Creator, and we have no problem with it. We share knowledge freely because it's part of the structure for man to elevate itself. It doesn't matter what is try to stick to us. When you look, how many kings and queens and world leaders do you remember from the time of Christ? And he's still the king. Because he's the king of the souls, not the dimension of his character. And it's the same soul, doesn't matter which way you turn it, and which name and what time you give it. Any other question?
Yes, I'd like to open the floor to Anna, I believe is up next here. Anna, can you unmute your microphone and go ahead?
Yes. Hello. I'd like to ask
Can you
Mr.
let
Keshe,
us know where you are from, please?
and it's just about vivid dreams, like lucid
No.
dreams.
Can I ask you a question? Where are you from?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Keshe. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic, and I live in New York. I'm a pediatrician.
Yes, carry on, please. Carry on.
I would like to ask you, Mr. Keshe, about, vivid dreams or lucid dreams for the average person. Like my personal experience, when you mentioned about that, our soul travels every night. It's been very real for me because I have so many lucid dreams that I have diaries of my dreams since I was a child. Like I have visited so many worlds and so many beautiful experiences that when you talk about that, me being at the nursery of this knowledge, as you just said, it resonated really about this capacity to travel and have what I have learned are vivid or lucid dreams. If you could please elaborate further, I would appreciate that.
Let me explain I've done this before. Maybe we explain it in a different way. This is the body of the man, and this is the soul of the man. In different layers of the structure of the brain of the man, we have different things. Memory of the senses of the smell, memory of the position, memory of love, and different part of the brain has different function. This soul, when they feel the strength of the skull with the blood circulation, which is very thin but very effective, when you go to sleep, it changes. So this field can go up to here when you're awake and create a dynamic field flow, a strong containment. But there's still some of it gets through that you see as whatever dream. When you go to sleep, or what you call illusions, you still reduce the fields and you travel. But it's a maghreb system. You come to a position, you interact with something, and this has the same back there. As you give information, you show emotion to this field, could be the mother, the grandmother, or whatever, it responds back. The body of the man has the capability in the brain to remember, okay, you're with two eyes, you're driving, and you're looking at the front in the physical dimension. The body is transferring the information, red light, stop, somebody got hurt, we can go, or go faster. But the other one, the soul, is still working too, and is crossing these fields, these emotion positions as well. So you are registering the physical information, and this is registering with the same cells the soul emotion. Then you call this vivid dreams, because now the soul of the cell of the brain remembers the communication at the soul level, and the what we call the dimension of physicality remembers what you see with eye. So when you call it a vivid dream, it's now we understand. It's not a dream. Man has been a what we call schizophrenic life, dimension of physicality and dimension of the soul of the man. We call it a dream. It's not a dream. Now we have to understand it. There are two dimensions. It's very much like a woman. It's multitasking. Doesn't matter day or night, this entity, this soul of the man, radiates and creates different information and different impressions on different part of the bank of the body. You got to realize something which is, I tried to explain before, maybe in a much clearer way. Every cell in your brain has a soul. And that soul has the strength to interact with the soul of the man. Because then it carries the emotion of physicality and emotion of the soul. This is something which you have, once you understand it, then the life becomes very, very simple. Your brain is a stereo system, one dimension of physicality and at the same time dimension of the soul, the source of the creation. So is it illusion or you're working on two dimensions? But up to now you didn't understand this. If you become very clever to it, you can do the same, the two, but be aware of the two, multitasking. What Osho said he's trying to do. He's aware it's there, but he's trying to push the opening of the others. Some of us, we do it naturally. As a physician, you see children are very good at it. They tell you, I've seen something, or they do something, so something is there. And it's there because they see it through the fields of their soul. And by depending on the matter state, the older we get, the more and more and more we deceive ourselves from this field. And the typical European say, because of their ignorance, they say, I believe it when I see it. So it's not elusive. Now you have to understand you work with the dimension of both in the same structure. And when the time of the physical death comes, these informations are downloaded into the soul. So when your soul leaves, the soul of physicality or soul of the cell of the brain, all this memory downloads, passes on, and becomes part of the information of the soul for its investigation. You do the same thing, but if you look at the structure of the physicality of the man, you have your reproduction at this end. You continuously transfer, you call it by RNA or DNA, the solar RNA to your next generation. That it's not just that you carry, transfer RNA of physicality and RNA of the soul, what do you call it, of this, what we call the information of the physical life, you download the soul continuously. The information the soul has gathered from all dimensions into your next generation. There is a reason why the physical life on this planet always has two ends. I explained this. The soul of the man and the soul of little ones we call your reproduction unit. It creates that to feed, to register, to memorize, and to create the condition of position. You call it RNA and DNA. But the same thing exists in the dimension of the soul. You have the dimension of how physicality has to be in the dimension of the soul when it manifests itself. We have a lot to learn. And you don't lucid dream. Now you understand you are working in two levels all the time. It's us to understand which one is which and how it is. I live in that dimension 90% of the time. Even when I'm asleep, to me, I'm awake. And they tell me you're asleep. I said, no, I was awake. I said, you were snoring. Yes, but that's the physical side. I'm busy doing other things. And then you have to move the physical, not to snore or move something, but in fact, you're working in dimension. 90% of the time I physically look or sleep, I'm busy. And they tell you, I said, I don't know, because you're supposed to hear you. I said, but I don't hear it because I'm too busy doing something else. It's a 24-hour work, it doesn't stop. And then when you go in the dimension, say, hey, all these have been already arranged without the soul, so I'm going to do this. And it's done. We do most of the work, as they say, behind the curtain. In the dimension of the soul. Thank you very much. Shall we call it a day? It's nearly 12:30.
Sure. Yes, we can do that, Mr. Kesh, of course.
Thank you very much for today. I hope we learned a little bit more and we shared a little bit more. Thank you very much for today, and the whole of the Keshe Foundation team in the background. And we should be able to see what we can do in the coming time, and how we can bring about the what do you call it? what will add to the addition of the knowledge? I just received a note from the Keshe Foundation management team. Just to remind you that I'll read it to us. The first 3 workshops are in English, but since the teachers speak also German, they can have the workshop in both languages. So even those who do not know English but just speak German can participate. I don't think language has ever been a problem in Keshe Foundation in these workshops ever. We'll find a way to do it. Thank you very much. For example, let me explain to you when it comes to the soft artwork, the artisan is Romanian. So if you're Romanian, you can partly, if you don't speak English, the lady who teaches is fluent both in English and Romanian. And we have artists from other parts of the world which join us in these teachings and workshops. And language should not be a barrier. Thank you very much, Rick. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Once again, this has been the 432nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 12th, 2022. Now, our next public workshop coming up will be on the 17th of Tuesday, the 17th of May, which will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that starts at 4 p.m. Central European Time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I don't think there's any other announcements, at least not what I can remember right now. So thank you, everyone, for attending today's workshop. And we'll see you next week at the same time and place. And we'll go out with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit musical version. So you can clap your hands and dance a little bit to let the world know that we're happy to receive the plasma knowledge. Bye for now.